You can wait at the bus stop for a while, Mom. We'll pick you up after the reception. That's what my daughter said to me that morning. Her voice was calm, a little distracted. She was fixing her hair in front of the mirror, wearing the most beautiful blue dress I'd ever seen her in. I smiled, watching her from the corner of the room, feeling proud. My little girl, now a grown woman, was going to a wedding reception with her husband. I thought I'd go too. She had told me a few days before. It'll be nice if you come with us, Mom. It's been so long since you went out. I was excited. I ironed my best beige dress, the one I kept safe for special days. I even polished my shoes. I didn't have much, but I wanted to look nice beside her. That morning I woke up early. I cooked breakfast for everyone, made tea, and set the table. My daughter barely touched her toast. Her husband kept checking his watch. I could tell they were in a hurry. When they were almost ready, I asked softly, "Should I get my purse?" "I'm ready too." She hesitated just for a moment. Then she smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile that reaches the eyes. "Oh, Mom, actually, it's going to be crowded. We thought it might be better if you wait for us later. We'll pick you up after the reception and take you for dinner. Okay?" I froze a little, standing there in my neatly pressed dress, my small purse hanging by my side. "But you said I could come," I whispered. Her husband spoke then, his tone polite but firm. "It's just, there's not enough space in the car right now. It's better if you wait. We'll pick you up after. Promise." My daughter looked away, pretending to fix her earrings. I nodded slowly. "All right, dear. I'll wait." And that's how I found myself standing at the bus stop that evening. It was a chilly day. The sky looked heavy, the way it does when rain is near. I sat on the cold bench clutching my small purse. Every few minutes I checked my phone, but there were no messages. I thought maybe they were running late. Receptions take time after all. I watched buses come and go, people laughing, holding hands, running from the cold wind. I smiled at strangers. A little boy offered me a candy and I thanked him. It was getting darker. By 7 o'clock, the streetlights came on. I sent a small text to my daughter. "Are you coming soon, dear?" No reply. I tried to stay patient. Maybe the music was too loud. Maybe she couldn't hear the phone. I told myself not to worry. She had promised. 9 o'clock, the street grew quiet. The shop across the road turned off its lights. A soft drizzle began to fall. I pulled my shawl tighter. My hands were cold. My heart was colder. I dialed her number. It rang, but she didn't pick up. I tried again. Still nothing. Then, around 10, I finally got a message. My heart jumped. I opened it quickly. "Sorry, Mom, reception's still going. Please go home, we'll call you tomorrow." I stared at the screen. My eyes blurred. Go home? But they had dropped me here. There was no bus now. The last one had already gone. I looked around the empty road, the puddles shining under the dim lights. The wind picked up. My dress was damp at the edges. I didn't cry right away. I just stood there, too stunned to feel anything. After a few minutes, I slowly started walking. My knees hurt, but I kept going. There was a small diner a few blocks away. I walked there, my shoes squishing with every step. The lady behind the counter looked surprised to see someone my age walking alone that late. She gave me a towel and a cup of hot coffee. I sat quietly by the window, watching the rain hit the glass. I didn't blame my daughter right away. I told myself maybe she was tired. Maybe she didn't mean it. But deep inside, something broke quietly that night. When I finally made it home, it was almost midnight. The house was dark. I changed my clothes and sat on the edge of my bed. My reflection in the mirror looked tired, like someone who had been forgotten somewhere between love and duty. I thought about all the times I had waited for her before. At school gates, at bus stops, outside her dance classes, and each time I was so happy to see her run into my arms. Now, I was still waiting, but she wasn't coming. I turned off the light, laid down, and listened to the rain tapping on the window. That night, I didn't sleep. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a strange heaviness in my chest. The house was so quiet. I could hear the old clock ticking on the wall. It reminded me of the days when this home used to be filled with laughter. Her laughter. I made myself a cup of tea, but even that tasted bitter. Maybe it was just me. I looked at the photo on the wall. My daughter in her graduation gown, smiling with pride. I remembered how that day felt. She had run to me after the ceremony, wrapped her arms around me and said, "Mom, I couldn't have done this without you." I had believed her. Back then, she was my reason to keep going. Her father had passed when she was still a teenager. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I worked extra shifts at the laundry, skipped meals sometimes, and sewed clothes at night just so she could stay in college. There were nights when my fingers bled from the needle, but I didn't stop. I kept thinking, if she succeeds, all this pain will mean something. And she did succeed. She became a nurse, found a job in another city. And for a while, she used to call me every evening. "Mom, I miss your cooking. When are you coming to visit?" Those words felt like sunshine. I lived for them. But then she met him, her husband. At first, I was so happy for her. He seemed nice, polite. He brought flowers when they visited me. But something changed after they got married. Her calls became shorter. Her visits became rare. When I came to stay with them after my hip surgery, I could feel the distance growing. He was never rude, but he wasn't kind either. I would notice the way he sighed when I asked for help, or how he rolled his eyes when I spoke. My daughter noticed too, but she never said anything. One day, I overheard them whispering in the kitchen. "She's just here for a while," he said. "I know," my daughter replied quietly. "She's old, but she's not helpless. She can manage on her own." Those words stayed with me. I tried to be less of a burden. I started doing my own laundry, cooking small meals for myself. I smiled even when I felt pain. I didn't want her to feel guilty. I thought love meant staying quiet sometimes. But that quietness grew louder every year. After that night at the bus stop, I waited for her to call. She didn't. Not that day. Not the next. On the third day, I called her. "Hi, Mom," she said. Her voice sounded cheerful, as if nothing had happened. "How was the reception?" I asked, trying to sound normal. "Oh, it was good. Sorry we couldn't come back that night. We got so busy." I waited for a while, I said softly. There was silence. "Yeah, sorry about that. You should have just gone home, Mom." Something in me cracked, but I didn't show it. I just said, "It's all right, dear." That's what mothers do, don't they? We say, "It's all right," even when it isn't. Weeks passed. She didn't visit. I filled my days with small things. Watering the plants, knitting sweaters for no one, cooking just enough for one. But no matter how much I tried, I couldn't forget that bus stop. The sound of rain, the empty road, the promise she broke so easily. They all stayed with me like old photographs you can't throw away. Sometimes I walked by that same street. I'd look at the bench where I had sat that night and wonder if she remembered me waiting there. Maybe she thought I'd forgotten, but a mother never forgets. One afternoon, I got a call from her. She sounded upset. "Mom, can you lend us a little money? Just until next month?" I didn't have much. Just my small pension and the little I had saved. But I said yes. I always did. After that, the calls only came when she needed something. Help with bills, or a favor, or advice. Never just to ask, "How are you, Mom?" Still, I answered every time. Because love doesn't stop. It just changes shape. But slowly, I started seeing what I didn't want to see. My love was one-sided. My care had become a convenience. One day, as I sat on my porch, a neighbor said to me, "You're always alone, Mary. Doesn't your daughter visit?" I smiled weakly and said, "She's busy." That word, busy, became my excuse for everything, but inside I was tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of hoping. Tired of pretending that everything was fine, when my heart knew it wasn't. Still, I prayed for her every night. I asked God to keep her happy, even if it wasn't with me. Then one morning I got an envelope in the mail. It was an invitation. Her anniversary party. For a moment, my heart filled with warmth again. Maybe this was her way of making up for everything. Maybe she wanted me there. I wrote back right away. "I'd love to come, dear." She replied simply, "Okay, Mom, we'll see you there." That was enough for me. I spent the next few days preparing. I bought a small gift, a framed picture of her as a child holding my hand. I even made her favorite pie. I wanted it to taste like old memories. That evening, I put on my floral dress, brushed my hair, and wore the tiny brooch her father had given me years ago. It was a piece of him I always carried close. When the taxi dropped me off near the venue, I saw her from afar, laughing, surrounded by friends. She looked so happy. My heart swelled with pride. I thought, that's my girl. When I reached the hall, the lights were bright, and music was playing. Everyone looked beautiful, dressed in their best clothes. I stood at the door for a moment, holding the little gift bag close to my chest. I could see my daughter across the room. She was smiling at someone, her eyes glowing in a way that used to make me happy. I walked in slowly, careful not to bump into anyone. A waiter stopped me and asked, "Invitation, ma'am." I showed him the card. He nodded and let me in. My daughter saw me after a few seconds. Her smile faded just a little. She came over quickly. "Mom, you came." "Of course," I said, smiling. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." She hugged me lightly, the kind of hug that ends before it begins. Her husband appeared beside her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "Oh, hi, Mary," he said, glancing around. "Glad you could make it." "Thank you," I whispered. They were called away almost immediately by friends, photographers, laughter. I stood there, watching them move through the crowd together, looking perfect. I found a seat at the corner table. No one joined me. I sat with my gift on my lap, smiling politely whenever someone looked my way. The music was loud. People danced, clapped, took pictures. I watched my daughter dancing, her dress swirling, her laughter echoing. For a moment, I saw the little girl she used to be, dancing in our living room, asking me to clap for her. Back then, I clapped until my hands hurt. Now I just watched. After a while, the waiter brought food. I took a small plate, but my stomach felt tight. The smells and noise were too much. I wanted to talk to my daughter, to tell her how proud I was. But she was always surrounded. When the cake was cut, I tried to get closer to take a picture. Her husband gently stepped in front of me, blocking my view. "Let's give them space, Mary," he said. I stepped back. Of course, the moment felt like a door closing softly. Later, when people started leaving, I finally caught her, alone near the hallway. I held out the gift. "I made this for you." She looked at it, a little embarrassed. "Oh, Mom, you didn't have to." "It's just a picture," I said. "From when you were little." She smiled politely and handed it to her husband to keep. "Thanks, Mom." Then she checked her phone. "We're actually heading to an after-party with friends. Do you need us to call you a cab?" My throat tightened. "I can manage," I said quietly. She kissed my cheek quickly. "You're the best. We'll talk tomorrow." And then she was gone again, swallowed by the sound of laughter and music. I stood there, surrounded by strangers holding my empty purse. When I stepped outside, the air was cold again. The night sky looked the same as the one from that bus stop weeks ago. For a moment, I thought about waiting, just standing there until she remembered me. But I knew she wouldn't. I walked slowly to the bus stop nearby. The same kind of bench, the same humming of streetlights. I sat down. the picture of her as a child still clear in my mind. The bus arrived. I climbed in, paid the fare, and sat by the window. As the city lights blurred past, memories came rushing. Her first day of school, her wedding day, the night she called me crying after her first fight with her husband. I had always been there, always waiting, always helping. But tonight felt different. Tonight I knew something had ended quietly, like a candle burning out. When I reached home, the house looked even emptier. I placed my shoes neatly by the door, set my purse down, and looked at the clock. Midnight again. I went to my room, sat on the bed, and took out an old photo album. Each page was a piece of me. Birthdays, picnics, small moments of joy. I touched her baby picture with trembling fingers and whispered, "You'll always be my girl." Then I closed the album. I didn't cry, not that night. Tears felt useless now. I realized something. Love isn't only about giving. It's also about knowing when to stop giving to those who no longer want it. From that day, I decided to stop calling first. I stopped waiting by the phone. I began to take small walks every morning, made friends at the nearby park, joined a reading club at the library. It wasn't easy, but it felt lighter each day. Sometimes, when I passed by the bus stop, I'd smile sadly and think, that's where I stopped being just someone's mother and started being myself again. Weeks turned into months. I heard from her only a few times, mostly short calls. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" "Fine, dear," I'd say. Then one evening, a knock came at my door. When I opened it, there she was. Her eyes were red, her face tired. "Mom," she whispered. "Can I come in?" I nodded and stepped aside. She sat on the couch, clutching her purse. "He left," she said softly. "My husband left me. I didn't know where else to go." For a long moment, I didn't say anything. My heart ached, but I also felt something like calm. I made her tea just like old times. We sat together quietly, the way we used to when she was small. She cried, and I held her hand. "Mom, I'm sorry," she said, "for everything." I looked at her, tears finally filling my eyes. "You don't have to say that," I whispered. "I just wanted you to be happy." She hugged me tightly, the kind of hug that says what words can't. For a few days, she stayed with me. We talked, cooked, watched old movies. It felt almost like before, but I could see the restlessness in her eyes. After a week, she said she needed to go back and sort her things. "I'll call you, Mom," she promised. I smiled, brushing her hair back. "Of course, dear." When she left, the house felt full and empty all at once. I stood at the door until her car disappeared. Days passed, then weeks. No call came. But this time, I didn't wait at the bus stop. I didn't keep checking my phone. I learned to fill my own time, to find peace in silence, to forgive quietly without expecting anything back. I still love her. I always will. But I've learned that love doesn't mean losing yourself. Now, when I sit by my window and see the sunset, I whisper to myself, "It's okay, Mary. You did your part." And somewhere inside, I know that's enough. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. For the hearts that learn to heal quietly, you're not alone.